Hey, what do you say, ladies and gentlemen? Dan and I are excited to introduce our Buy Me a Coffee page. We've had a lot of listeners reach out and say, hey there, bub, we really appreciate what you do and want to support the show. Well, here's one way to do that without big corporations taking, 30% of the cut of your generosity. Just head over to www.buymeacoffee.com/BigBlueBanter and chip in if you'd like to support us directly. Every contribution means a lot, and it helps keep the show going strong. We appreciate each and every one of you. Thanks for listening, and have a lovely day.
Welcome back. It's the Big Blue Banter, New York Giants football podcast. I'm Dan Schneider, joined as always my co-host Nick Filato. And today we're here to talk about some Giants tape, the all-22 takeaways from the Giants' Week 17 win over the Raiders. Obviously, the Raiders had quit, in my opinion, on the season, but it's still good to watch tape where the Giants are winning football games, Nick. And it's still good to watch tape where the Giants are making big plays over and over again. This was great tape for the Giants. Qualifications are certainly important to note. It is as you'll see, as we'll go through it, Nick, there are some really effed up breakdowns. I texted you a few, for the Raiders from a coverage standpoint, just odd things going on. I felt like for a team in Week 17, players running into each other, creating wide open space. The first Wan'Dale Robinson throw, the 17-yarder, was just in egregious breakdown in coverage. I felt like I don't even know what happened there. And then just route concepts that created a lot of space. But you know what? It's part of the game. You're going to play some bad teams, obviously. And the Giants took advantage of what was available for them on the offense side of the ball. On the defensive side of the ball, I think we're seeing a continuation, Nick, of what we've seen since Charlie Bullen took over as DC. Better scheme and players who really want to play within this scheme and playing hard at the end of the season, specifically Brian Burns and Abdul Carter, who had two phenomenal games. So overall, it was fun to just watch good tape, even though it's meaningless in a lot of ways and it's not really predictive of what's to come in some ways. I was just happy to watch something good, man.
Yeah, the Giants are a superior team than the Las Vegas Raiders at this point, and that was obvious. And when we knew that, 100%. Yeah. I mean, who was out there right now without Max Crosby, without Brock Bowers,
right?
And look, this does build upon what happened after Brian Daboll was fired. Mike Kafka comes in to get rid of Shane Bowen, and I do want to start by talking about the defense and Charlie Bullen, because Charlie Bullen, he could be in line to receive an interview for a defensive coordinator position, depending on what the Giants do at head coach. All that still needs to be sussed out, but Charlie Bullen is doing a good job acting as the interim defensive coordinator. And a lot of it comes down to just being aggressive and dictating. Now, he wasn't as aggressive on the downs where teams are usually aggressive on third down, like when he dropped 8 on the 4th and 4 touchdown pass to Tyler Lockett. They were just trying to act as if they're sending pressure and then drop off and have just a bunch of people in zone coverage and some man coverage as well to have a goal line defense that Geno Smith was going to have to suss through. Tae Banks lost to Tyler Lockett. That's neither here nor there. But what I do love about Charlie Bullen is how he dictates early, and that's on first down. Because if you want to be aggressive on first down, you want to blitz, and he blitzes a lot of run blitzes. You could tell that he studies the tape, that the players are dialed in on where they need to be. There is a continuity with this defense that wasn't there with Shane Bowen when they don't have these massive holes in run defense. They seem to be playing where they need to be playing. You hear all of these players, Bobby Okereke, after the game say stuff like, I told Chuck that there's no surprise that I'm starting to play my best ball when he took over, because he's a great motivator of men and people, and he's done a great job maximizing our personnel. The players are buying in. But when it comes to that first down aggressiveness, man, that's something that I do appreciate, because if you think about it from a football standpoint, look, if you stop them and then you get them in 2nd and 10, you're already putting your defense at a place where they're at an advantage, because their strength is rush the passer. You have Brian Burns, you have Abdul Carter, you have Dexter Lawrence. Let's throw Darius Alexander's name in there. So try to dictate early with those blitzes and try to get them into those 2nd and long situations that can then set up the 3rd and long situations, because the Giants blitz 41% of their first downs against the Raiders. They're not tentative, and this has been what Charlie Bullen has done throughout his time as the defensive coordinator. So that's something I want to applaud him for, because force a negative play on first down, lead to 2nd and long, lead to 3rd and long, allow Brian Burns and Abdul Carter to do what they're doing. I don't think it's a coincidence that Burns and Carter in the defense is playing this much better with Charlie Bullen. I think some of it has to do with the opponent, but I do think Bullen has an impact, and I think that's something that we should recognize now at this point of the season, when there is very little to recognize from a positive standpoint.
Yeah, he deserves credit for how he's calling these games, for how the players are playing within his scheme and within the way that he's calling games. It's Brian Burns is playing. I mean, he's been playing phenomenal all year, but he's still playing phenomenal level within this defense. Abdul Carter playing his best football under Charlie Bullen. Okereke is playing his best football under Charlie Bullen. And there's talking about it after the games, like you mentioned, Nick. Like, that's important too. Like, you want the players to feel good about what they're doing, and you don't want them to have to be in the position they were in earlier this year where they're like dancing around the question of Shane Bowen, right? And they were kind of giving like answers that were not committal on if they were appreciative of playing for him. And I'll say this, it is interesting, Nick. Like, it speaks to a bit of a problem that I don't necessarily know how to unpack or like where we go with it. Like, why did it take this long to move on from Shane Bowen? Why did we have so many games with Shane Bowen? Why was this the case? And like, who's to blame for that? And how do we fix that moving forward? Like, how do we avoid going through another situation like this where we had a lot of games of Giants football with a defensive coordinator not equipped to call games for the Giants, clearly, maybe not equipped to call any NFL games. Maybe there is some personnel grouping that will work for Shane Bowen. I don't want to totally drag the guy. Like, if it may just be a situation where he took over a grouping of personnel that just doesn't fit what he visions for football. But I don't personally agree with his vision for how to coordinate a defense. And we've had so many games to evaluate that. So it's not like I feel like he hasn't had a fair chance or anything like that. But it's odd that it took this long, Nick. And it's odd that like a change like this can have such an impact on the defense. And I understand like they haven't played world beaters since then. They've played a lot of backup offensive tackles. They've played a lot of bad offenses, but it's not about that for you or for me. And it doesn't sound like it's about that for you. It's not about what's happening in the production. It's about what we're seeing on tape from a schematic standpoint. So it's the things you mentioned, like the blitzing and the run blitzes.
Yeah. So a few things. Firstly, programming note, it seems like we might not be able to go over the film here because the StreamYard is just not accepting the film from my standpoint every time I upload it. So you could try to maybe upload some film, but everything I cut, it just keeps getting booted out, and maybe we could try to maneuver around that. But secondly, I'm not surprised by that, Dan, because the Giants, they back themselves into this corner where they keep relying on continuity and they keep giving second chances. And it's ironic kind of in a funny sense, because the Giants have been known to be a little bit cutthroat when it comes to coaching decisions over the last several cycles. 2 years to McAdoo, 2 years to Judge, 2 years to Shermer. With Dable, they gave him that extra year and it did not work out. And the Giants were an absolute dumpster fire. So they fired Dable midseason. And then because they fired Dable midseason, they didn't want to put Mike Kafka in the situation where you have, and I'm just rehashing history, but you don't want to put Mike Kafka in this situation where he's going to have to coach a defense that does not have their coordinator. So they were tentative to fire Shane Bowen. So that's why it took a while. And then obviously Shane Bowen needed to go, but they wanted to fire Dable before Shane Bowen because Dable was not doing his job. So it really is just trusting the continuity and then realizing, oh shit, it really does suck as bad as everybody else can see. And as we hoped it was not. So yeah, let's part ways with Shane Bowen well after we parted ways, a few games after we parted ways with Brian Dable. So I'm not surprised though that it did take a while because it was just kind of circumstantial.
Yeah, you're right. It's just so interesting that it could play out, to me at least, the way it had played out with how much time Bowen did get, and even just going into this season where we're out, because
he shouldn't have got the extra year. But and I don't think John Mara really wanted to give him that extra year. But I don't think Brian Dable wanted to go in and bring in another defensive coordinator. And I don't think a lot of defensive coordinators were eager to do it. So the only way to do that was to part ways with Shane Bowen and give Charlie Bullen an opportunity at the beginning of the season, which would have been very risky. But anybody listening to this podcast who have heard Dan and I talk about the defense dating back to week 2,
right?
His second game with the Giants, like, Shane Bowen, oh my God, this is going to be tough if he does not adjust and if he does not get creative. Right. And he didn't. Like, the only time he really did was down the stretch of the season when he just went much more of a heavier approach, when he went to we got to stop the run because we don't have Dexter Lawrence out there. And I wanted to applaud him for that adjustment. And maybe that adjustment spared his job for all I know, because the Giants weren't getting run all over throughout the back end of last season. Maybe it was, but overall, man, it just seemed like he was in over his head from the beginning. And you have guys like Charlie Bullen stepping into this position, and he seems much more comfortable, and the players seem to be responding in a lost season when usually these guys are quitting and waiting to play golf or go to Mexico or do whatever, right? They're responding and they're showing a lot of pride in being New York Giants. And I think that is an effect of Mike Kafka and Charlie Bullen. Whereas Shane Bowen, I just don't think he should have received that opportunity. And if you really want to distill this down to one thing, it was the Giants should have cut ties with him after last season. They didn't, and that bled into this season, and he somehow outlasted Dable for all of the reasons that we that we went over about 5 minutes ago.
I guess that's the interesting part of it to me, Nick, like the psychological part of it. You think of it like, oh, it's too risky. I don't want to take a risk and give this guy Charlie Bullen, who's never called plays before, an opportunity. Shane Bowen just called plays for us last season. He got a lot of experience. But like when you think of it like that, you bypass what the actual risk is, right? Week 2 of this season, that's a brand new, fresh season. The Giants were 0-1. The season was still winnable, right? We have a young rookie quarterback who hadn't played yet, but once he started playing, he played well throughout pretty much the whole season, with the exception of maybe 2 games, one or 2 games. And you have an opportunity to maybe make the playoffs or just win football games and not be this 3-13 team. And in week 2, we see the downside. There is risk in keeping Shane Bowen. That's the thing that bad coaches or that bad decision makers never factor in. The good ones are the ones who can factor that type of stuff in, Nick. And you could use the film cut-ups I have down there if you need to, if yours isn't working. But the good ones are the ones who factor that stuff in, Nick. The ones who are like, there is risk in both. There's inherent risk in keeping Shane Bowen as well. That risk played out, and it went to the worst case scenario. In week 2, we basically lost the game because of Shane Bowen, in my mind at least. And a lot of people are to blame for that, but he's a big reason why they lost that game against the Cowboys. And then it just played out over the course of the rest of the season and a lot of their losses. And there's not a lot of next level thinking from the people making decisions for the Giants.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of what can I convince myself and
Right.
how can I sell that to ownership? That was, it seems to
Yep.
be, because for a while the Giants have just been they've just been backpedaling, right? They have not been moving forward. It's not 3 steps forward, 1 step back. It's 1 step forward, maybe like 5 steps back. So they just kept getting pushed back and back. And they're like, I don't feel comfortable parting ways and having this guy who's never really been a defensive coordinator at this level be the defensive coordinator when we have Shane Bowen here. And they just used band-aids throughout the offseason. Like, hey, let's sign Javon Holland. We'll sign Paulson.
Right.
We'll upgrade the personnel and not fix the root cause of why this defense is not performing to the level that we need them to perform at. And the root cause of it is Shane Bowen's defense.
Right.
The personnel is a big reason as well, but upgrading the personnel did not help the root cause. The symptoms were still there. The Giants
And we'll
sucked,
get to see
right?
it this weekend, right? Like we're going to see exactly what you just said, because they play the team, the Cowboys, that Shane Bowen gave up, 41 points to in week 2. Like, I still think that the Giants are going to have trouble stopping this Cowboys offense, obviously, but it's not going to look like week 2.
Yeah. No, I agree. The defense still has their issues, even
Yeah.
with Charlie Bullen. That's still that Shane Bowen system. I'm not laying it all at the feet
Right.
of Shane Bowen. I'm more so going over what I think the Giants were considering when they decided to retain Shane Bowen. A lot of it was, well, we upgraded the defense. Maybe that should be good enough. We want to give him more than just 1 year and not make him a one and done type of. But if they did that, man, and if they like, look, I don't want to say if Charlie Bullen was a defensive coordinator this entire season, this season would be different. I think that's very strong, and there's really nothing that I can base that off of. But I can say this about Charlie Bullen: this is a much more refreshing look and a much more I'm going to dictate to you offense. You're not going to dictate to me. A much more aggressive type of approach from Charlie Bullen, and it seems like all the players are responding positively to it. So I think that cannot be overstated as well.
Yeah, some of the stuff is really just simple too. Like we talked about it earlier this year. I don't remember when we brought it up, but like at one point this year, we brought up the stat of how the Giants were, I think, bottom 3 in disguise coverages from during Shane Bowen. And after the game, you just hear these defensive players talking about how they disguise coverage on this play or that play. And, just simple stuff to us, or simple stuff that I would think if you're a defensive coordinator, you want to, like, you don't like, if you're a defensive coordinator, to me, you want to be able to dictate to offenses. I don't think you ever want to run a defense where the offense dictates to you personally. And then disguising coverage is another basic thing I would think would be part of my plan if I was ever coordinating a defense. So a lot of it seems simple, and I'm not saying Charlie Bullen is reinventing the wheel or anything like that, but he's certainly doing a better job.
Even plays like this, we didn't see much of this under Shane Bowen, where, look, it's a 3rd and 8. I believe the situation is you put Brian Burns and Abdul Carter in linebacker positions. Yeah. You spread the line out so you have the wide angles from the edge rushers. And those edge rushers here are Darius Alexander and Chauncey Golston with Dexter Lawrence, or is that Roy Robertson Harris as that nose. But you just want a linebacker twist to confuse the hell out of the coverage, or out of the protection with Brian Burns and Abdul Carter.
Right.
So you just send them, and you could see 2 guys assume Abdul Carter. Brian Burns goes in untouched. When does Brian Burns ever untouched? This gets a sack for Burns. That's just excellent scheming right there. And you just do not see that from from Mr. Shane Bowen at all. And these are just highlights of Abdul Carter and Brian Burns.
This is just a little cut up I did of Burns. There's one I have of Burns and Carter.
Yeah, Burns.
Some of my favorite Burns plays.
Yeah, it was nice, man. I'm a little pissed off at StreamYard right now. Or what's wrong here, Dan? Do you want to just talk right now about some of these plays while I jump out and jump back in, and maybe it fixes my issues?
Go back to this play first.
There, you do your thing. I'll be right back.
Yeah, this is the play I wanted to highlight the most. Nick is going to join us in a second. Brian Burns gets a lot of credit for what he does in the pass game. Let me see if I could actually control this as well. But some of what he does in the run game to me is his most impressive stuff. This rep right here in the run game, watch on the far left of your screen, Brian Burns. This is textbook, like teach tape right there. Crashing down into the tight end, collapsing that ability for the running back to find that cutback lane. It's as good as it gets. Another run rep after this. We'll run a little here. We'll take this. I'm not as good as Nick as Nick is at running this stuff, but I'll remove this from studio. Now it's just me. Nobody wants to ever see that. Let's put this play. Oh, I can't play it because it doesn't work like that. I don't have control over operating the other thing. So Nick can put this on. And this is a little cut up I did of Abdul Carter.
How long were you extemporizing there?
Well, I was trying to get the Carter video to play. This little cut up I did of Carter.
I might not cut any of this out. Just for the fun of it.
What's weird is that I can like go backwards and forwards on the video, but I can't put it into the studio. One of these days, you're going to give me access to the studio, Nick.
I'd like to. Hopefully that fixed my ability to put plays in here, because that was pretty annoying. But yeah, no, back to the defense. And look, I actually do have access to my plays so far. It has not kicked them out. So we might be able to go over some plays in a little bit. So yeah, I also do have Abdul Carter cutups, but we already ran through some of them. Oh, nope, they just kicked my stuff out. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. StreamYard, you got to pull your head out of your ass. But back to the New York Giants, man. Yeah, no, the defense, it was just obvious that the Giants, they were bitching the Raiders offensive line.
Yeah.
Like Stone Forsythe was starting on like the Raiders offensive line. You know what I'm saying? Like there was no Jackson Powers Johnson. There wasn't a lot of the
no Colton Miller, their best left tackle.
Miller. So you had Darius Alexander putting guys on their ass, dude, which I love to see. And I have seen Darius Alexander play better football over the last 3 or 4 games, but he shouldn't be bull rushing people and feet did not get tripped up. Guys end up on their back, legs in the air, embarrassing type of look, like Kevin Hart impersonating Shaq type of look. And then the rip move sack by Darius Alexander was excellent as well. But yeah, the defense I was pleased with, man. Dane Belton comes away with an interception. We can play that.
You can run that one too. I just threw that in there.
Yeah, Dane Belton, and you can even go through this. Look, those safeties, you're like, what exact coverage are they in? Just outside of the red zone? It's a little bit hard to discern. And you have, I think that's Demetrius Flanagan fouls, rotates downward. You see how he starts? Is that fouls? Or it could be Raheem Lane, who, holy shit, Raheem Lane, learn how to make a tackle. How many times that guy going to just whiff tackles in the hole? It was very, very frustrating. But it is week 17 New York Giants football.
Yeah, he's not going to be on their roster next year.
And he floats down there and undercuts the in-breaking route from the 2. So this is some of that disguised coverage, and he's doing that from the opposite hash. And then you have a too high type of look with a deep middle hook, looking like a Tampa 2 type of coverage from Dane Belton. And Geno Smith doesn't see Dane Belton, so he sees that number 2 receiver enter the second throwing window underneath the coverage or behind the coverage of Demetrius Flanagan foul / Raheem Lane, whoever the hell that buzz player was. And Dane Belton's just watching him the entire time.
Yeah.
He just undercuts it. Just a good play by Dane Belton. This is the type of plays that Dane Belton made at Iowa when he was a junior. He had 5 picks that year. And Dane Belton has, like, what, 6 career interceptions, if I'm not mistaken, Dan?
Yeah.
Like, he intercepts passes. He gets his hands on the football. And I think, again, I've said this several times, if he was on a better team, he would be a more valuable player because he's very adept in these sub-package type roles. But he had to start here with no Tyler Nubin and Javon Holland getting put on the shelf midway through this game. But a good interception by Dane Belton and good coverage. There were some reps in here. And look, Tae Banks got burnt on that touchdown by Tyler Lockett, but he was pushing. He was pushing the coverage, but but there was no defender there to push to. Darius Muasau was the middle hook. He stepped up to account for Geno Smith. And then the other defender, I don't remember exactly who it was, he was occupied with the receiver as well. So there's really no one to push it to. And he just lost his inside leverage, and Tyler Lockett ended up burning him for that touchdown. But there were plays where I was looking at Tae Banks, Dan, and I was like, he's in pretty damn good coverage. He's using the sideline well. He's right in the hip pocket. So I would love for whoever takes over as the head coach and the defensive coordinator, if they could get something out of him, because I still think there, like we said in yesterday's show, there is a possibility for that at least.
Yeah, I strongly believe that as well. Possibility. Like, I have no faith in Neal and Hyatt. Those are just massive busts and horrific job by Shane on both. But Banks, I just have some faith can potentially be something with the right defensive coordinator. And it's not just that. Like, and I saw Daniel Jeremiah tweet about this today, Nick. He said essentially, like, yeah, everybody wants the Giants. He said the Giants are the most attractive job right now for a head coach. And he said everybody wants the Giants to go get offensive mind for Jaxson Dart. He thinks they're better off getting a defensive mind because he thinks there's so much talent on this defense that can be actualized with the right defensive mind.
Is that what he said? I thought it was just like a really pick your poison. You could do either kind of thing.
Yeah, maybe it was that, but the point was like that the talent can be actualized and that it's not being actualized, though I do think Bowen's done a good job. And I think part of it is that. Part of it, though, is just like this team so badly, Nick, needs to get off to a good mental start, like a 3-1 start or like a 4-2 start. So then, like, I just think so much changes in that regard, like especially for a player like Banks, who has, I don't want to say mental, that's not the right term, but just who needs to be motivated maybe, or needs like extra motivation that not everybody else would need, and can really thrive on good vibes. Like that is simple. As weird as that sounds. Like I really do believe that some of these players can thrive more on good vibes. I strongly believe that. It, like, when you have these seasons where you're just broken down and the media keeps barreling you over the head with the same bullshit questions about your losing team, it just gets to you and you don't play your best football. I've seen it happen to the Giants, and I've seen like the 2016 season where no one expected us to do anything, and they were a great team because they rolled with the vibes of like the unexpected, and the defense was rolling hard with the vibes, it felt like. And there weren't even there was talent on that defense, but there wasn't that much more talent on that 2016 defense than there was on this defense. Quite honestly, there were holes that people don't remember on that team that weren't really talked about because everything was working.
Dan and I are excited to talk about the Big Blue Banter group chat we've got going on with Chat BCC, the group chat platform where you can interact with fans and hosts of your favorite podcasts. We've been using Chat BCC to talk to our listeners about the hottest topics in football and just to kind of shoot the breeze about whatever's on our mind. Every day, one of us is in that chat giving our thoughts and hearing from listeners on their takes on what's going on in football, what's going on with the New York Giants. It's a lot of fun. If you want to come crash our group chat, it's as easy as sending a text. Head to BigBlueBanter.chat in any URL, enter your number, and start chatting with us and the Big Blue Banter faithful. I 100% advocate for Omaha Steaks because Omaha Steaks actually sent me multiple boxes of their delicious product. They took care of me. And look, in this industry, some advertisers don't do that. They'll ask for a personal endorsement that is completely fictitious. I might as well talk to you about Bigfoot or quality New York Giants football because they don't exist. But Omaha Steaks, they take care of their people. They sent me real steaks, perfectly aged for tenderness, hand cut by master butchers, plus chicken and other succulent sustenance. Omaha Steaks, if you're listening, I support you. And the listeners of the Big Blue Banter podcast should too. And you can save big on gourmet gifts and holiday favorites with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during their Sizzle All the Way sale. And for an extra $35 off, use promo code BANTER at checkout. Terms apply. See site for details. That's omahasteaks.com, code BANTER. Thanks again. I wear underwear every day, and I ensure that they're clean. But it's been a while since I switched it up, you know? It was always the same cycle. Order a pack, hope they fit, deal with the riding up, the stretching out, or just being comfortable by the end of the day. So when I found out Skims was making underwear for men, I was genuinely excited. I got friends who wear Skims for years and constantly talk about how comfortable everything is. So I figured if they nailed it for women, they were definitely going to come through for men too. I've tried a few styles, but my favorite has to be the Skims Cotton 5-inch boxer brief. The fit is unreal. They hit perfectly at the thigh and actually stay there. No riding up, no bagging out, no adjusting throughout the day. The fabric is soft, breathable, and somehow feels supportive without being too restrictive on your little friends down there. I can wear them all day, working, traveling, working out, and they still feel just as good at night as they do in the morning. What surprised me most is how confident and comfortable they make me feel. Once you find underwear that truly fits, you realize how much the wrong pair has been holding you back. At this point, I don't really see myself going back to anything else. Skims just does it better. Shop Skims Men at skims.com. Let them know we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. And if you're looking for the perfect gifts this season, the Skims Holiday Shop is now open at skims.com. BigBlueBanter.com. Yeah, I love that Tae Banks returned the kick for a touchdown. That's elite. And then he gets tested for steroids, which is equally elite and also hilarious. Hopefully he passes that. But yeah, no, him getting actualized would be a saving grace for Joe Schoen, who needs as much saving grace as he can handle at this moment, even though I think it looks like he's going to retain his job. But do you want to transition a little bit to the offense?
Yeah, let's go to the offense.
All right, you have this one dart. I had all these plays cut up for everybody. And all these plays cut up, and StreamYard is screwing me, ladies and gentlemen.
This is my favorite dart throw of the game. It's a far hash to the sideline laser ball from Dart.
Yes, and the reason why Wan'Dale Robinson is wide open is because the two corners
ran into each other.
Let's see if we can see that. You can kind of see
I purposely did the end zone angle because it two reasons. One, the throw. It's always a better way to see like the throw when I'm trying to hyper focus on like the throw as part of it, and you can see the far hashes right there. He gets his feet in the direction, sets them, and rips it. Good laser ball. But if I showed you the end zone, the sideline angle, you'd see how just pathetic it was from the Raiders on the back end.
Solid throw from Dart, right? It had a lot of velocity on it. It might have been a little bit too far to the sideline because Wan'Dale kind of had to. Now, I'll be honest, and
it was just a little too late, really, is what the problem was.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be negative here when it comes to Dart. Look, I feel like Dart did what he had to do. He did not play poorly, but his ball placement was off in this game.
And it wasn't great, and he
did not maximize a lot of throws.
He did not maximize a lot of throws, and there was just shit coverage, just absolute shit coverage from the Raiders. I text you like 4 plays, and I'm just like, this is just garbage from the Raiders.
I know. And Wan'Dale, to his credit, like there was like 2 that he didn't bring down that, and maybe if he was a normal size receiver, he would have, but he's open. He's cooking these guys. He's cooking these defensive backs who might not or shouldn't be playing. And Dart is delivering balls to the inside where if it was Daniel Jones, we would be saying like, what the hell you got, you know what I'm saying? So like, we got to be consistent here and say like Jaxson Dart from a ball placement standpoint was, I would say, less than average in this game. Like,
less than his average.
Less than his average. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I want to see
him very good with ball placement in his rookie season.
And I would love to see him with Malik Neighbors though. Like even on the play with Darius Slayton.
That's the play I tweeted about. Like this is a touchdown with Malik Neighbors probably.
Yeah. And Darius Slayton, it's like, we've said it so many times, man. I don't want to beat this dead horse. It's like anytime it's a slightly contested catch, it's like, Slayton's not coming down with that. Has there been a bigger disappointment than Darius Slayton on the Giants?
For the season?
Yeah.
I mean, in general. This season, I mean, I'd probably say bigger disappointments for me. There have been a lot. Javon Holland, Tyler Newman, like Darius Slayton, I kind of always knew had a cap ceiling. At least those other guys I thought had more uncapped ceilings.
With everything involved, right? Like Malik Neighbors goes down. You resign this guy. You have a rookie quarterback, and this is a veteran receiver. There's a lot that would suggest that Darius Slayton would have had his best season as a pro.
True.
Getting all the targets from a talented quarterback who should be dependent on his, and instead it's been Wan'Dale going north of 1,000 yards and Darius Slayton being kind of a butt of a joke, right? Like, and that sucks for him, but like, he doesn't seem comfortable out there even catching the football. He just lets that shit into his body.
It's really in his head. Yeah. I'll show you the one in a second where it just looks really awkward. Do this one, run this one real quick. This was a good example of just what I love about Jaxson Dart, his ability to create off script, his ability to take a pocket that's starting to break down, get out of there, control where he wants the receiver to go, and then throw off platform. I just feel like it's a little high, but if that's Neighbors, it's a touchdown. If it's Jordan Tyson, it's a touchdown. If it's Carnell Tate, it's a touchdown. Even if it's Mekhi Lemon at 5'11.5", who can rise up, and I've seen make these kind of plays on his tape, make that play. It's a little high, of course, but it's just
a little high, a little inside, but still,
I'm not Neighbors makes that catch. I've just seen enough Neighbors to know that Neighbors makes that catch.
I agree. And this isn't one of the plays that I was discussing earlier. Like, this is a tough throw to make for Jaxson Dart. He's escaping the pocket. He's getting hit while he throws. He puts it in a catchable spot. You would want your receiver to come down with this football. And Darius Slayton just, that has not been the case for Mr. Darius Slayton for quite a while. Now here we have,
this is one I just put in. This is one I put in because I just thought it shows a good example of, well, it shows an example of what you said, how uncomfortable Slayton looks catching the football. Just look at that weird transition he makes after letting the ball come into his body. But what I really liked about it was it's a good example of what I think Jaxson Dart has done a great job of all year, which is use his eyes to hold coverage, use his eyes to kind of open up windows of space that might not have been available if he wasn't so good with his eyes.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, you have a cover 3 look, and Darius Slayton just curls right behind the middle hook, and it's just too much cushion. If that's one thing I could say about Patrick Graham in this defense in this game, it's just a lot of cushion. That's why
As usual.
Wan'Dale was open so much on those little underneath choice
Right.
routes. It's just they're going to run zone coverage. Wan'Dale Robinson's going to find the soft spot in the zone coverage, and Mike Kafka, through his faults maybe as a head coach, one thing you can say about him is he designs route concepts that are going to stress zone coverage, right? Like you're going to horizontally stress. You're going to run a drag route to open up the middle hook, and then you're just going to fit like a spot route right between that middle hook and then the curl flat or the flat defender, depending on what the coverage is. The Giants, the routes really do feed off of each other and work well with each other to stress zone coverage. And then the Giants man beating package is also excellent. There were a couple routes in this game. Wan'Dale Robinson got open. He was lined up in a stack, and Wan'Dale Robinson releases underneath Darius Slayton. He's basically running up Darius Slayton's stem, and that's just putting the defense in a spot where they have to either work over top of Darius Slayton or stay to the outside. And I'm not sure if there are choice routes built into that specific route concept for Wan'Dale Robinson, but it's a shit position to be in as a defender when you are in man coverage, and the Giants were able to capitalize on that as well. Here's a Jaxson dart to Gunnar Olszewski.
Yeah, I included this one because I just think this is a good example of something that I've loved about Jaxson Dart's rookie season. Yes, I love his ability to manipulate the pocket, which we showed a little bit earlier. Yes, I love his ability to throw off script, but I just think the thing that stands out the most to me about his rookie season is how fast he does the math in his head and how well he understands space post snap. Like this to me was such a great example of him understanding the coverage, understanding where the players in the defense are, and then understanding where the space is going to be as he's climbing and evading that sack. And that's the right read. Like Gunnar, throwing that ball to Gunnar here is going to generate the most out of this play. Like that's where the space is going to be. That's where the fewest defenders are.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a simple mesh concept. This is something the Giants have run for years, right? A lot of teams who mesh with the OTB. You have three receivers over the middle of the field. One
Bellinger's also wide open, by the way.
yeah, you have one defender to defend that. And Dart's looking here. This is what you're looking at. So your eyes are already there, and you're like, wait, there's only one black jersey. You run the wheel route to expand the other defender outside the numbers, and 26 is gaining depth to eliminate a possible deep threat. So you have nobody underneath. Like again, like Patrick Graham's, I'm not going to lay this all on Patrick Graham. He's working with a Raiders team that is effectively quit and does not have talent, but just an absolute mess from a coverage standpoint. Like I'm surprised. Like Dart had a solid game because he added like 60 yards on the ground or whatever it was with the 2 touchdowns, but Dart could have like lit these guys up too if the game script demanded that. If that's exactly like how it went. But the offense of the Raiders were just hapless. It was just a hapless team in general.
They will not beat the Chiefs next week. I know some Giants fans have looked into that. They will not win any game against any team.
Yeah, man. Wan'Dale, though, going north of 1,000, over 100 yards in this game. I think it was I think there's 12. I heard he's the 12th player in Giants history to record 1,000 yards. And I was thinking in my head, I'm like, could we name all 12? I don't think so. But I think we can get all the recent ones, right?
Yeah, possibly.
Like Malik did it last year, right?
What is it? All receivers to go over 1,000 yards
in Giants history. Malik did it. I remember Steve Smith definitely did it. I think Victor Cruz certainly
definitely did it. Nix
Hakeem
did it.
Nix did it. So that's 4. Odell, obviously 5.
Odell, not Randall, not Manningham.
Wan'Dale 6.
Wan'Dale 6.
Toomer's definitely done it.
Ike probably did. Ike do it. Ike probably.
I'm gonna put Ike on there, but I have to imagine. And that's really, and Plax. So
Plax definitely did.
We're at 9. So I don't know who those others are though. They got
definitely people who before I was born that I'm just never gonna get. Yeah.
I
don't know. I probably didn't have many 1,000-yard seasons back.
I'm gonna look it up here.
Yeah. I was gonna put this.
All right. So Del Schaffner did it in the 60s.
Yeah, I've heard of him, but obviously never watched him.
Homer Jones did it in the 60s.
Heard the name, never watched him.
Ernest Gray and Lionel Manuel did it in the 80s. And it doesn't appear like Ike did it. So
no Ingram either.
No.
That's interesting. I want to look at that a little bit real quick. This was a shout out. I just screenshotted it. This is a shout out to Knicks fan in our chat BCC chat. He brought this up earlier. I thought it was really interesting. If you want to run this screenshot here, Nick, if you want to put it into the studio, just look at the difference for Wan'Dale Robinson this year versus last year. on basically the exact same amount of targets and the exact same amount of receptions. Last year, 140 targets. This year, 140 targets. Last year, 93 receptions. This year, 92. Last year, just 7.5 yards per reception. This year, 11. That's a massive, massive difference. Same amount of first downs and almost the same amount of touchdowns. It just goes to show, like, and now some of this is very, very skewed by the fact that a lot of this is from the Jameis and Russ games, Detroit and Cowboys, where he just went off in both games. So maybe without it, it looks a lot like last year. But he's clearly taken a jump in his ability to create more explosive plays for this offense, regardless of that qualifier. And so it's something to think about as we move forward to the season. He's 24 years old. He's going to be a free agent. He's going to command a lot of money, but we don't have that many weapons for Dart. It may be something that we just have, it's like the Illuminor thing. We just have to bite the bullet and pay the price. I don't know, though. It's tough. It really, these decisions are very tough for the Giants. There's a lot of fringe type players.
They are, but I'll say this, look, I don't like watching the New York Giants I don't like when the Giants allow good football players to walk out of the stadium, right? And we've seen that a lot recently. And I think Wan'Dale Robinson is a good football player.
He is.
I do think he's a little bit niche. I think he's more than a role player, but he has his role, if that makes sense. And I look at the Giants. Look, the Giants might go receiver in this draft. It's still early. We'll wait and see, right? But if the Giants, they get Malik Neighbors back and you add Tyson or you add one of the Tate, whoever.
Yeah.
And then you have Wan'Dale, that 11 personnel package.
Yes.
That's a really high quality 11 personnel package for Jaxson Dart to operate with. And then you also have the 12 personnel package, given that Daniel Bellinger comes back, or if Chris Manhertz is retained, that's more for blocking purposes.
Or for Done.
Bellinger comes back, or for Done, right? I just think it makes whoever the coach is for next season and going for years to come, it allows this offense to have a multifaceted approach when it comes to being effective out of multiple different personnel packages. And I would love to bolster that 11 personnel package, especially with the way the Giants have suffered injuries at the wide receiver position. Right. I don't want to rely on Darius Slayton. I get it. You can't really get rid of his contract next year. I think it's like 15 or 16 million dead cap that you would have to eat. So that he's going to be under contract. He could still have a role on that 11 personnel package, but it will be a bit role, and he could become a situational player if the Giants do decide to bring Wan'Dale back and draft one of those top receivers.
Yeah. It's something to consider. It's always a good thing to have more talent than not at receiver. And there's injuries that always happen at position, as you've mentioned, and we've talked about a lot over the years. So at some point you just got to consider, is it a, sunk cost fallacy? Don't worry about Slayton. We can't let Slayton's contract factor into any of our decision making. No. And that's just, regardless of what happened there, just look at it like that. Look at it like you're operating at, 15 million less against the cap than any other team. And that just is what it is. And he'll still give you production. I still think Slayton is a fine player to have out there and can do some things. I honestly think, like, if we did draft like Tate, for example, who's a big outside receiver, and we have Neighbors on the outside as well, mixing in Slayton to the slot wouldn't hurt either. I think that's where he can do even more of his damage. Yeah. And I like him after the catch. That's probably where I think he's at his best, to be honest, as a receiver in the NFL, Slayton, after the catch, because he's explosive in his first move after the catch. Even better at that than his verticality, because he's not a good tracker of the football, and he's not good at 50-50s either. Not a good hands catcher. So, or at least not this year. He was improving on that a lot last year, which is odd. I felt like he took a huge jump last year in that regard, and then just totally regressed this year, which is really weird. I remember doing a cut up at the end of last season or middle last season. Like, look at Slayton, because he worked hard the past offseason at it, and like, look at him, attacking the football with his hands, making these hands catches. Now it seems like a lot of these throws are going into his body again. So it is what it is on that front, but it's a good point by you. And on Wan'Dale, like, I'm open to it. I'm open to re-signing him. Honestly, I don't know where I'm at yet with him, or really, I don't feel overconfident in any of these free agents, honestly. Illuminor is the one I probably feel the most confident in, but only because losing, like, if you don't have a tackle, you're fucked in the NFL. So I don't want to get to that point of like, shit, we relied on Mbow and he's just not getting the job done at right tackle.
That's a good transition and segue into our next topic, which is Marcus Mbow. Mm-hmm. And look, I don't think he looked that good, man. And I'm gonna do
interesting because I saw so much positive fanfare for him after this game. I think it was maybe Giant Insider who was tweeting about how good he played. And then I think I know Sai, who we love, who's had on the podcast, is a big fan of his. And potentially, I think I've seen him say, but I may be wrong. Sorry if I got this wrong. So I think I've seen him say the Giants should move on from Illuminor and move to Mbow. But then, I watched the tape as well after reading all that. And I just don't know if I agree with that either. I think I'm more along the lines of what you say with regards to not just how he played, but like a big thing for me with Mbow is, and I think it's fine to take he's a 5th round pick, right? Like we're not expecting him to be an all pro at the NFL level in the 5th round, but I just wonder, like, is his profile, is it a prospect we can count on to become a full-time starter in the NFL level? It's going to give you plus. It's going to be able to hold up at the NFL level. Like, is that something that you feel strongly about?
No, I don't feel strongly about it. I think there's a possibility. I don't know if I'm willing to take that risk with Jaxson Dart on a rookie contract when I could just bring somebody back that I know I can trust, and then I can have Marcus Mbow be the swing guy behind an often injured Andrew Thomas and Jermaine Illuminor. And I think Mbow's best place is likely on the right side. So he's playing slightly out of position, playing left tackle. But a lot of the issues that I see from Mbow, and I don't think he played terribly. I think he surrendered like 5 pressures, but a lot of the issues, it's strength, man. People run through his chest, and you're talking about Tyree Wilson. Like, imagine if that was Max Crosby, right? Imagine if it's some of the pass rushers that are in the NFC East, right? So I look at him and I like him. I think he is a good asset to have. I think that is a possible potential win for Joe Schoen on day 3, but it's not somebody that I want to entrust with being a starter if I can bring Jermaine Illuminor back on a reasonable deal, meaning not a tackle setting type of deal, which I can't imagine he would get, right? Like he's going to get a lot more than $7 million. Like we're talking probably in the 20s.
Oh, no,
right?
no. Yeah.
Probably in the 20s. So like 20.
I don't know about that high 20s, but maybe the 20s.
I'm thinking like 21. I'm thinking somewhere around that.
Maybe high teens.
And I want to see exactly.
He is 33, I think. He's turning 33.
I don't think he's that old. I thought it was 31.
Oh, maybe it is 31.
Jermaine Illuminor.
Maybe I was thinking of another. I was looking it up the other day. And I'll say this just as
31. But 31. He'll be he just turned 31.
Okay. So he'll be 32 next season. And then into the deal. Like, that's what I mean more with Bo. Like, I know a lot of people look at it like, oh, it's fine. Like, he's a rookie, he's young, and he'll be able to just keep eating or whatever it may be, working on strength and conditioning at the NFL level and get to a certain point. I don't know if his body type can get to the point where he's not going to be a liability against some of these types of pass rushers, these long, strong ends that he's going to be facing against, which is kind of why, dude, like when you mention what you mentioned and we talk about that, I kind of think about some of the same issues I see at times from John Michael Schmitz, just straight up, just like strength issues from this player. And I wonder, like when he first came to the NFL, like to me, I thought Marcus Mbow profiled best as a center. I really strongly believe that based on his frame. I still kind of think that. Still think he'd be a fun center for the Giants to have. He'd be a good.
Pretty sure he was tested out at center at the Senior Bowl, if I'm not mistaken. For a few snaps.
Because the coaches saw that too, like that possibility for his body type to be better at the center position. I'm fine with the idea. Like, I'm happy we have Mbow. Like, we usually don't even have any intrigue from our day 3 picks on the offensive line, right? They're usually like mega busts across the NFL, really, for the most part. Very few teams can hit. I just don't want to go from point A, that point, to point B, which is he's starting next year. You move on from Jermaine Illuminor. To me, the most intriguing option by far, and I don't know if he'll hit free agency, is to pass on Illuminor, to pass on the idea of starting Marcus Mbow, and to pay the extra money to get Braden Smith to play right tackle for the Giants because he's 29 years old and he's about to hit free agency. I don't know if the Colts will franchise tag him or if they'll get a deal done. But Braden Smith is a phenomenal football player. And that's what I like. If we're going to pay to sign Illuminor, I just pay the extra cap to get Braden Smith if they both hit the market.
I think that is it's a risk, right? Because you don't know what the Colts are going to do. You don't know. You don't know if you want to get into a bidding war because Braden Smith, look, there might be a team very desperate for a right tackle who's going to pay a Braden Smith if the Colts allow him to walk out the building. Again, I'm very suspect when it comes to the Colts allowing him to do that, but let's say they do. That means Jermaine Illuminor will likely have his market driven down just a little bit, which could allow the Giants to afford him at a 19 or 18 a year type of deal. But overall, if we want to discuss this topic, I'm with you. At least I think this is where you're at, where I don't want to just give Mbow the right tackle spot right now. I say we can align Mbow and take him through the offseason and see where he fits best, maybe cross-train him at other positions.
Yes.
And yes, maybe he could be a right tackle of the future, but I would love for like a 2-year deal with the Jermaine Illuminor type. I just don't want to rely solely on a Marcus Mbow. And then who's the backup? A James Hudson? Like what are you looking at for the backup? Like I've seen good offensive line play this year on a shit team, but I've seen good offensive line play. I don't want to just allow that to walk out the door. If it's affordable, I would love for the Giants to bring that back and give Jaxson Dart a stable offensive line, hopefully with a healthy Cam Scadaboo and Malik Neighbors, and maybe.
And it's not a slam dunk. Like we know that. I know you know that too, Nick. Like Jermaine Illuminor is not a slam dunk re-sign because while he's very good in pass protection, I don't really find him to be that great in the run game. And I don't think his body type is going to, at 32 years old, I don't think we're seeing some kind of massive jump from him as an overall run blocker at any point if we re-sign him. And we could see decline as a pass blocker as he gets older. It's possible. Like there's risk in re-signing Illuminor, but I think we just agree there's more risk in passing on him and saying, all right, we got Marcus Mbow. He's our locked-in starter. Maybe we'll draft someone. Maybe we'll do another Hudson signing. Like this is not a plan. This is a really bad plan if that's your plan at the NFL level. And I think the Giants are hopefully smarter than that. At least that's how I view the offensive line. You really got to be over aggressive and you really have to take your risks and you have to understand that, yes, it may not go as planned, but we can't go the opposite route of like relying on rookies or relying on James Hudson or whoever you can find on the free agent scrap heap.
Look, Joe Schoen, there's a lot to criticize Joe Schoen about. Is Jermaine Illuminor, is that his best signing in free agency?
In free agency, yeah, by far.
I think easy, right? Like at that market price, like that was an insanely good that was
Has
an
he had
insanely
any
good
other good signings?
I mean,
yeah, I guess.
I don't know if I would say
Paid
they're
up for
good,
that.
but I think they're adequate signings. Like John Runyon, I think that's an adequate signing. 10
I
million a
wouldn't
year
call
was
that
kind of
good.
a
No, I'm
lot.
just saying like a very good signing like Illuminor.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. I think it's probably harder though. I think we'd have to look across the NFL. I think it's harder than we think or than I just
I think
mentioned.
it
for a
absolutely,
GM.
especially when you have a coaching staff that's not maximizing
Yeah.
the talents. Like
Just
all of
free agency
those
sucks, dude. Like free agency
exactly.
is such a bad place to have to fill your needs.
Chauncey Golston, right? Like that wasn't that expensive. He's coming in here. He has his role right now, but he has basically had no impact on the New York Giants this season up until this point right
He's had
now.
injuries, yeah.
Because he's had injuries and he's dealt with a couple other things. Javon Holland, that hasn't been a great impact. Paulson Adebo, I would argue that's a good signing, but it's not like he is a Patrick.
It's more on the Runyon level of signing.
Yeah, but I mean, I look at it more, and this is because you missed on Deontay Banks, so you're covering up for your own mistakes.
Same thing with Azudu and Runyon.
Yeah, this roster without those players is much worse, right? So you have to overspend in free agency when you can't land on your draft.
Yeah, the outcome is good. It's just like the value is adequate at best, I think, for everything he's done.
Yes,
besides
but my point with Illuminor is that's been like the home run when it comes to outcome and value. $7 million a year for Jermaine Illuminor is a steal, dude.
Yeah, if you look at it like that, then just pay him, right? You're getting over the course of the 4 or 5 years you'll have him, you're getting good value overall. If you look at it like that, it'll be interesting. If Braden does hit the market, I'm fine getting in a bidding war. I'm fine just paying. Like this is the thing: the only good free agent signings we ever see, Nick, are like the McKinney types. When somebody like Xavier McKinney hits the market, and those guys are always the most expensive ones. The rare guys who are young and have no, like, just do that. Just sign those guys and don't try to be the Javon Holland type. Like, don't try to go for these types of free agents. Like, just doesn't seem to ever work.
When do good football players ever hit the market? I mean, I could
very rarely.
Xavier McKinney, Saquon Barkley, no,
Barkley.
all these old Giants.
F that on Barkley. Like, I didn't care. I said it last year. I don't care if they re-sign him because the cap means nothing to me. But like, he's averaging what 3.6 yards per carry. Like
I was just making a joke about how the Giants allow.
No, I know. But like the big thing I had to listen to for a last, like, say, how could the Giants do this? Even like casual fans keep coming up to me. How could they let him go? Let him go. What the hell do we care? What are we winning with Barkley on this team? Nothing. Now he's 28. Like after this, like averaging 3.6 yards per carry behind a shit O-line, or not even a shit O-line, like an O-line with the Eagles that's still better than anything the Giants have had in a run by. Like, and then he still can't do it. Like, it's just like crazy. Like, watch the game. Running back is so dependent on the O-line. Or you get actual, like, anyone who thinks Barkley is the best running back in football is not watching enough tape. Would you agree with that statement, Nick?
Yeah. I don't.
And that's pretty
Are there a lot
clear.
of people saying Saquon Barkley is the best in
A
football?
lot
right
of
now?
people said he's the best running back in football last year. And
I
how
think
could the Giants let
last
the
year they
best?
were saying that
No, I
because
know, but it was
people are
how
very
could the Giants let the
reactionary.
best running back in football leave? He was voted the
Yeah.
number one player by his peers on the NFL top 100. And like he can break away, or he did last year at least when he gets a huge hole. But there are like real great running backs we watch on a weekly basis who are processing better than him, who are cutting better than him, who are just look a lot better than him, who are like, I think it's pretty obvious when you watch a lot of teams like Bijan Robinson and Barkley. They're not comparable players to you, to me. Are they to you?
No.
Right. So
I
like,
mean, I think Saquon's a very, very talented, very good running back.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't think he's Bijan or Jahmyr Gibbs.
no.
I think there's a difference in overall just how they accelerate, how they hit the
Yeah.
hole and everything. But
Also, some of
I mean,
these guys
this
just
is-
read the blocks a lot better than Barkley. Like it's not just all the O-line this year is collapsed for the Eagles.
yeah, I haven't watched the all 22 of the Eagles other than the games.
Watched a
that they
lot of
played
Eagles all
against the New
22,
York
man, for
Giants.
BTB. It does not
Yeah.
look good on offense. And it's not like you still have a lot out there. You still have Dickerson for a lot of these games. Like it's not
Yeah.
like it's just like some shit O-line like that, like, right? Like it's, I don't know. I don't want to get into the whole thing, but like I stand strong. Like
I don't think
totally
many
fine.
people are really standing against you right now, though.
No,
I think
no,
they were
people are
last
pissed that
year.
people are still not happy with losing Barkley. And I respect it because like the cap is pretty meaningless and it wouldn't have hurt the Giants that much to lose Barkley. But on the Braden Smith thing versus Illuminor, because that's more important here, I think you're probably right. Braden doesn't hit the market. He could have hit the market though if Jones never got hurt. If Jones never got hurt, the Colts were gonna have to dump like $50 million a year into Daniel Jones, which would have killed them from a cap standpoint, and they wouldn't have been able to re-sign Smith. Now with the Jones injury, they'll be able to get him back for like a cheap 1-year deal on the Achilles.
They're
like
1-7 since they acquired Sauce Gardner.
I know.
They traded their first. Oh gosh, two firsts. That's crazy. That's
and
crazy.
he's not even like that good. That's the craziest part. Like he had a great rookie season with the Jets, but like Stingley, who people are like, how could you ever draft Stingley over Sauce Gardner? Is a much better player than Sauce Gardner, and it's not even remotely close.
Stingley's
like
nice,
if you're gonna
man.
trade 2 firsts, you traded for Stingley or Surtain. That's it. That's like it, right? At corner, like you want the real corners, like not like the Sauce Gardner types, who was seemingly a real corner, like a real shutdown guy, but then just hasn't been every year but his rookie year.
He's better than anything the Giants have had in a while. I'll say that much.
And I'm happy the Giants would never consider. I would never consider trading 2 1s for him. Would you?
No.
Yeah.
I'm not really all about trading first round picks either, especially with the way the Giants are. If the Giants were the Rams or a team like that, or maybe the Colts when they made that trade, I would be more open to it. But I still probably wouldn't have. I definitely wouldn't have done that for a Sauce Gardner, but maybe a Patrick Surtain or Stingley. But those teams aren't getting rid of those corners, right?
I know. Right.
The Jets are an absolute dumpster fire who had some talent, and they were able to sell that talent off. Now we'll see what their regime.
They're not going to do anything with the picks, I'm sure. They're the Jets, but
dude, the Jets are crazy. It's nuts how just downtrodden and beaten that franchise is, and their fans just tolerate it and put up with it at this point. They show up to games and
no, they don't. Like they really don't as much
man.
anymore, though. Like it's crazy, man. They've lost a lot of real fans, the Jets, that's how they've been so bad that they've lost a lot of real fans. My friend, one of my best friends told me he didn't watch a single Jets game start to finish this year. And I still consider him a diehard fan. I respect it. I honestly do.
Same here.
I don't know if I would watch a full Jets game start to finish. I was a Jets fan. He feels like completely hopeless. Listen to this. This is the funniest tweet I saw earlier on this. This is just an all over the place podcast because we don't have the film and it's fine. It's the end of the season. Would this player win MVP, Nick? This player has a 13-3 record. He's averaging 7.4 yards per complete attempt, 65% completion rate, 32 touchdowns with 2 rushing touchdowns, so 34 total and 0 interceptions. Would that player, do you think, win MVP in the NFL?
Yeah, I think there'd be a conversation for it.
That player is just every quarterback combined against the Jets this year.
How much of that is Drake May?
Right, 2 of those games are Drake May.
2 of those games are Drake May, and Drake May just dropped the 5 spot on him. So
I know. In the first half, I think it was a 1 in the second half.
No, May
is, God. Yeah, that's how bad the Jets are.
Is May a lock for MVP?
No, it's Mayor Stafford.
I mean, and we'll find out tonight what happens with Stafford against Atlanta. And Stafford's had a great season, but these last couple games have been a little bit more rocky against some top competition. I don't know how much of that you want to lay at the feet of Stafford, but May is just and he's had an much easier schedule, but he's just steamrolling the opponents right now, Drake May.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch any tape,
I would like to actually compare this. Yeah, I hope the listeners are are enjoying.
It's just a random app. We're just going off on some tangents here about football, but yeah, I think it'll go to May because of like the narrative aspect of it, and because the Patriots are maybe. It depends kind of what the Broncos in charge. Depends if the Patriots win the 1 seed, I think it'll go to May.
Stafford is just insane.
Yeah, his stats
40 and 5, over 4,000 yards with a
Stafford.
65% completion and a big time throw rate of 7.5.
Yeah. And now you know why we were down to try to trade for him this offseason, because we're talking about a Hall of Fame player. Like, I'll take a Hall of Fame quarterback at any point. You can get me him. I'll take him at any point. I know we weren't ready for him, the Giants, but like, F it.
May has slight more yardage, 4,203, 8.9 yards per attempt with 30 touchdowns and 8 interceptions.
Per attempt is insane.
8.9.
You know how hard it is to average 8.9 yards per attempt in an NFL season and completes. What does he have? 72% completion rate?
71, yeah.
71, which leads the
72.
NFL.
Round it up, baby.
71 rounded up to 72 while averaging 8.9 yards per attempt. If you're stupid enough to say it's just because of the schedule, then I'm sorry. I'm going to say you're stupid enough to say that out loud.
8.9 leads the league. Sam Darnold second. Lamar is third. And then Daniel Jones also third at 8.1. Yeah. And then Matt Stafford, 8.1 as well.
So
with Josh Allen.
Leads on yards per attempt and completion rate. That makes no sense. It shouldn't even be physically possible to do that type of thing. But he's having an outstanding season. There was one. Last night's game. You know who's the most underrated player in the NFL? Probably.
Last night's game. Okay. Most underrated player from the San Francisco game last night.
By casuals.
But Bears, not a rookie, right?
No.
Okay, who?
It's Brock Purdy. He's just the most underrated player by casual fans, and he just continues to be the most. It's just Shanahan. It's just Shanahan. Watch the games, dude. Watch the tape. Yeah. Like, this isn't Shanahan. It helps to be on the Niners, but watch the one touchdown he had to Usech. Did you see the touchdown to Usech?
Yeah,
it was just like
I love when you
weaving in and out. Usech, whatever his name's, Usech. You see, he was like weaving in and out of 4 defenders, and then finds him in the end zone. Like, the hell did Shanahan do that? Shanahan get on the field and like, Brock, I'm gonna have you weave in and out of 4 defenders and throw the touchdown. That's the Shanahan system. Like, that you did nothing there. It's all Shanahan.
Shanahan's just like his ability to sequence plays was crazy though.
It is great. Trust me. Anyway, there are a lot of people would have success with Shanahan, but he maximizes their success. Brock Purdy. I saw something today where like he has only an 8-game sample size this year. I think his like touchdowns, if he extrapolated to a 17-game season, Purdy is like over 50 this year or something insane, like rivaling the Brady 07 season with Moss.
20 touchdowns, 9 interceptions
in 8 games.
Yeah, in 8 games.
Without Brandon Ayuk, with Ricky Pierce all hurt,
with George Kittle hurt a little bit.
George Kittle hurt. I mean, it is what it is.
He has one of the best offensive infrastructures in the league, though. Yeah. To be fair, that's not to take anything away from him, and I think I understand where you're coming from too, because a lot of people like to pile on and shit on Purdy because he's
stupid.
Doesn't have incredible athleticism, doesn't have the biggest arm, but he gets it done. He does exactly what he needs to do in that Kyle Shanahan system, and then people will give that praise.
There's too much qualifying. Is my point, Nick.
A lot of qualifying with Purdy.
I hate qualifying when it comes to quarterback play. It makes me so mad. It's such a dumb way to do it, and yet I do it when it comes to Jalen Hurts. So I am guilty of the thing I hate the most because I qualify the F out of Jalen Hurts' shitty ass play. That I think like you put Herbert on the Eagles and they're winning every Super Bowl. That's strongly how I feel about this situation. Like you put Hurts on the Chargers and they're probably not even in the playoffs this year.
Yeah. Well,
right.
I mean, I think, well, look, when it comes to qualifying, at least you're seeing how Purdy is operating and the plays that he's making independent of the system. And then you look at Hurts and you don't see those plays. Now the system is not what Purdy has, but Hurts isn't even making the plays to put his team in a position to be really successful. It seems like the Eagles are a little bit, and I haven't watched the All-22, so I could be speaking out of my ass a little bit here, but it does seem like the Eagles are a little bit more hindered by Jalen Hurts rather than Jalen Hurts taking the Eagles to the next level a lot of the times. But I'll say this, and a lot of
not hindered because they win games, but just like he's just like, I think somebody said it best today, Nick. Let me see if I can find this because I think you're gonna like this this description of it. I think you'll find this funny or just interesting. Where is this one? I'd retweet it, so it's got to be up here pretty close to the top. Fuck, where is this? You talk as I try and find this.
Yeah, well, I mean, what I mean by hindered is if you put another quarterback into the starting spot for the Philadelphia Eagles, they're probably going to win a lot more games, and that quarterback will be able to ascend that team to the heights that they desire to find themselves in, if you will. Yeah. Whereas Hurts, he's good enough to get the product across the finish line, as we've seen. but the Eagles would be in a much better spot if another player was in that role. Did you find it?
For the regular season. But obviously the
Yes.
big thing with Hurts is in the playoffs, he plays his best football.
Absolutely.
And I think that's important to note. He's like an Eli in that sense. But the way that somebody said it is, somebody said this is according to ESPN research, the Eagles are the first team since 1987 to win multiple games in which they didn't complete a second half pass. This is the second time this has happened. And Hurts is the first QB in the big play era to go 0-7 or worse in multiple or to go 0 for 7, I guess, throwing the football in the second half. And somebody said, Eagles fans hate when you mention it, but this is exactly why Hurts doesn't and won't get the credit they want him to get. He's not driving the car. He's riding in a luxury SUV with lane assist, blind spot monitoring, and a chauffeur. That's such a good tweet by this guy.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's accurate. But like, hey, he has stepped up when he needs to step up, and he has a Super Bowl ring. So I'll shrink down in my chair and be like,
I respect his game. He is he's fine.
Yeah, he's fine.
He's just not a lead. Like the fact that like I have to debate that with some people is crazy. Something interesting note I saw just from retweeting that. Did you know that that Jaxson Darter's made 11 starts this year, Nick, and 7 of them came against playoff teams? That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And what? 2 of them were victories?
2 of them were victories.
Yeah.
Chargers, Eagles twice, Broncos, 49ers, Bears, and Patriots. He had 22 touchdowns in those 11 games, which is pretty damn good. Just 5 interceptions against 7 playoffs. He's only faced 4 bad teams all year.
Yeah, and he just carved one up.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I don't know where we're all over the place in this pod, but I don't have any more film cut ups. I don't think.
Nah, I think we're
your
good.
film is not working. Yeah, but anyway, overall, talked about the defense a little bit. Talked about Bowen, talked about Carter, talked about Burns. On the offensive side of the ball, I think Nick kind of said it best. Dart did what he had to do, but I wouldn't call this his best tape by any means, and I think you'd agree with that. I did like some of the plays he made, though, for sure, the ones we went over. We're heading on to Week 18 versus the Cowboys. I personally consider this, again, to be a must-lose game for the Giants. I really hope they don't win this game because they could drop all the way to 7 in the draft order. But I was confirmed, Nick, by some fans last night that no matter what happens this week, the Giants are locked to be 4th in the division for opponents next year for the schedule. So that is really good, that no matter what happens, even if the Giants do win this game, which I think they honestly could, the way they're playing hard, and the Cowboys have nothing to play for. Not to do the Giants, but it seems like they do. They will be 4th in the standings. Last thing I want to note, one possible candidate who I did hear the Giants were super interested in for head coach, Marcus Freeman, has announced today that he is returning to Notre Dame. So he will not be head coach in the New York Giants. They're going to have to go to plan B if that was plan A. Back to the drawing board as far as head coach goes. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I heard that as well. But the Giants still have suitors for sure.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, they should, right? That's
what Daniel Jeremiah was insinuating with his tweets.
Yeah.
Like, dude, the Giants people are going to want to coach this team.
Yes. Yep. All right. Thanks again for listening to the Big Blue Banter podcast. It was a little all over the place, this pod. That's what happens in week 17 of a lost season. I hope you enjoyed it anyway. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you soon.